All right, so what's up, YouTube? Today we got another video on the CBR 1000 RR, and we're going to be trying to put this tidy tail that I got off of eBay for about $40 on there. It's got its own little tag light on it. You can or cannot put that on there. Well, I should say you can put that on there, and you don't have to put that on there if you don't want to. But here, state law requires you have a white light illuminating your tag at night. So I'm gonna put it on there. It comes with these little connectors. We'll see if those work with the factory stuff. Supposedly the factory LED turn signals will work. We're gonna see about that. Also, I'll be using this sweet toolkit that my 5-year-old daughter got me for Christmas to try to take it apart. So let's get going. All right, first, links in the description to the eBay that I bought this from. First, gonna take off the rear seat here. Toolkit out. Throw that stuff on the floor. Then you can lift the seat up here. They're going to be these hex heads. See which one of these stars will fit it for me since I don't have Allens. This is the one. All right, get that loose. We'll get that one out. Then we'll get that one out and we'll be able to lift the seat. Be careful. There's washers top and bottom of this or where the seat connects in, so don't lose everything. Make sure that you're careful when you remove these two bolts that you retain this washer. It just sits down on top, and then the seat just pulls up from the back and lifts out of the front. You can see the mechanism here on the front. Two rubber O-rings sit down. Set that down there with the two screws. All right, next thing we'll do is work on removing this plastic tailpiece. First, with your Phillips head screwdriver, you just put it in there and this should unscrew out. Sometimes the outer ring, the main plastic rivet wants to turn too. You can just get you a small flathead and hold the side of that to make sure it doesn't turn, and then the center will turn out and you'll be able to remove the rivet. All right, so you want to put minimum downforce as necessary just to turn these out. And I can tell you right now, guys, if you start turning these out and they just don't want to turn out, then you can just pull it out like a standard. I mean, if you don't unscrew it out of there, it's not really the total end of the world. But you see there's little plastic threads, because when you put it back in, I never have screwed these back in. I just push them back. So, I mean, really doesn't hurt it unless you're going to be removing them over and over again. So let's move on to this one. Okay, so now I'm going to move on these two right here and these two at the back, and then we'll see what else we need to take out. So as far as I can tell, it appears, well, it appears this stuff just kind of, you just wiggle it and give it some light pressure. Most of this stuff just kind of falls apart once you get these screws out. It's got little tabs and stuff holding it in. Here's the rear piece. And I don't feel anything. I know this popped out. Let's look at how it came out here. Okay, let's go to this side. That one's popped. Probably tabs, much like that one. All right, so hopefully y'all didn't go ahead of the video here and break anything. There's hooks, 2 sets of hooks. They hook in right here and right here. So once you get the back unclipped and these front portions unclipped, you'll just take it right here and slide it back. And it slides right out of those. And they're on both sides. And it's just, upper tail piece just slides right off. I need to identify all my wiring for the turn signals. I'm gonna trace, this looks like turn signal wires right here. All right, and then I'll identify the wires that come out. I bet this right here is gonna be for my tag light. So I'm going to identify these wires and see which ones they are. I'm gonna have to unplug them and pull them through and then push them back through the new tag bracket. They're supposed to work. These right here are good LED turn signals. So I'm gonna keep these, that way I don't have to have no relays or nothing special. And hopefully I don't have to cut anything but the wiring for the tag light. And if you don't use tag light, then you wouldn't have to cut that. So let me get to this and then I'll explain what we did. So I want to show this because it's important on how you get the bottom fairing piece off that wraps around. So this is kind of my next step. You take your 4 screws out. There's one there on that side, one of course there. And then I also took these 2 screws out right there. So that's the rear plastic piece. So that loosens it all up, and you see there's hooks back here that hook in right here. And you pull those out. This tail, when you get those separated, this tail pulls back towards the back a little, and then will unclip and drop down. You see it's got the little hooks right there that hook it in, and then all these clips that you just unclip from this dangling rear section. So we'll set that rear piece there. And that gives us a little more access to all of these pieces. So with this, looks like it is kind of made in, but it does allow to drop down access to that bolt. You have that one there, want the under piece off. So I don't know if we have to remove this. And I looked under here and looked at the wiring color going in. This right here is, well, this one right here is definitely gonna be our tag light harness. So anyway, we'll address that here in just a minute once I get the stock undertail off. So these 4 bolts right here, and then you can get to the nuts that's on from the side. So at this stage, I've taken the 4 bolts out. I went ahead and disconnected this tag light, and it's just kind of hanging here. If you got some help, that would be probably a lot better. Then we'll move on to these clips right here. These are going to be for the factory turn signals. I'm pretty sure I can get something up underneath this tab right here and pull this tab up, and it's just going to be difficult to film. Let's see if it'll focus in. It's probably too close. All right, so you can kind of see it there. All right, so what in the world? Pocket lint on a screwdriver. Jeez, that's horrible. Take right here, just ease up on that and try to pull this out. Oh, it's gonna take 2 hands, folks. I tried to film it, but you get the gist. You just ease up underneath this tab right here, pull that out, and then unplug it with that lifted up gently. Okay, never mind the dirt here. A little misty last time I went riding. These right here for the factory turn signals, it's going to be a 5/16 nut on the end of that. So we'll go ahead and take those bad boys out. Once we get those out, these clips for the turn signals came unclipped, just like I said, just pulled up on that tab, and they came out really easy. So be careful, have something holding this tail assembly if you don't want it to slam onto the ground. This thing is having such trouble focusing. All right, so anyhow, I think what I'm gonna do is cut the wires here and save this factory harness plug and leave me enough wire if I wanted to return this thing back to stock tail for whatever reason, that I would be able to do that. I would just have to solder and shrink wrap the wires back together, and I'll just attach it to this bad boy here. And I'll get my wire length once I get it installed. I'll have to go look to see how long I need my wires to be so everything tucks away nicely and does what it's supposed to do. Update. You pretty much have to disassemble this entire thing. There's going to be a screw right here, and then up towards the top, there's a screw right there. And there's 2 screws, I believe, in the side here. And this whole metal piece and plastic piece comes off, leaving this piece. You can kind of see where the screws were here. And then you'll be able to take this apart and Since you have to take it apart anyway, it would have been much easier for me to get the screws out or the bolts out of these lights with this apart than how I was doing it. So learn from my mistake and do it that way. Go ahead and take it apart. Then you can pull the light out, and this plastic inner piece, you can push it, and then it just pulls out like so. And then you can take your rubber grommet, slide it out, and slide the light out. Here's your lights, and it looks like it looks like they're gonna work quite well. I'm gonna figure out exactly how to sandwich these pieces and all in and get all this stuff in here and attach to this undertail. One thing I'll add is make sure you remember which side is which on turn signals. I know this blue one, as it's upside down here, this blue one's gonna be on this side. Just to keep from anything happening or any, throwing of tools and other random things later, go ahead and make sure that you keep track of which side is which. So just a little update here, just like anything aftermarket, you're probably gonna have to do a little modification. I had to take my step bit and drill both of these holes out one size larger with my step bit, and then I, deburred the edges of it. I did it that way so this piece would go in there like that, because this is the metal insert that goes in. It keeps it from squishing all this rubber down. And I want it to retain the rubber and everything else, because as you can see, the stock turn signal needs it. It's got a little drain hole here to get moisture out of it, and it keeps it quite stable in there. On this bolt right here, I put some blue Loctite. You can see a little bit on there. It had red. I don't have red. I'm gonna put blue and call it a day. All right, so let's check out what I've done here. I've went ahead after I've installed these factory turn signals on, got the wire in front of it. I got it sitting here the way that it would sit on the bike, and I want to test it. So I already see that I've got my wiring correct on this. I just kind of twisted them around because I want to check, see what my polarity needs to be. So I know my tag light's working. So now we can come up, and this should be no problem. So that works. Let's go right. Bam. Left. Oh, well. Opposite of that. That's my right. Because I'm looking at it from behind. And that's the left. So, all the switches and stuff work right. Tag light's working right. So what I'm going to do is solder shrink wrap this. I'm going to put the piece on there, the factory loom back over the top of it so it looks nice and factory. And then we're going to throw this bad boy on there. Wire's all done. I used the shrink wrap that came in the package for this. It's all routed right through here. And what I'll probably do, I'm not going to use the white zip ties that came with it. I'm going to use the a black zip tie that I have and zip tie, come on now, this bundle of wires up right here. Here's one of my screws that hold it on. There's another one. Again, this is the aftermarket piece. So this right here, I had to barely trim a little off for this brake light to work, or shoot, this tag light to work. But again, if you're not using the tag light, which you should, but if you're not, and that's your choice, then you don't have to worry about this. You don't have to worry about the wiring up here, and you don't have to worry about trimming this little piece right here either, because it's going to be good to go. Okay, so I've got it wired just up here. Tuck this back down to where it goes. Got the wires run. I just kind of pushed them back up into the tail here, and still got the where I can put that screw in right there. And then now, only thing that's left now is to go ahead and start putting the rest of the stuff back together. Do a quick test real quick. With everything plugged in, that I'm good. Well, that's my tag lights working. All right. Left turn signal. Right turn signal. Hazards. Works for me. All right, I'll show you guys what it looks like all put back together here in just a second. So just a few notes on putting this stuff back together. Don't forget the 4 screws that go in the under fairing before you try to put the top fairing on. I almost did that. And then make sure you remember, these things slide in. Remember when you took it off? So I the way that I would recommend doing it, and the way that I did it, was one side at a time. I slid this side in, got it slid in, and then went to this side, slid it in. There's one here and one here. That's about where they are. Then you can just snap these back. When you get to this centerpiece right here, it's kind of a pain. It hooks over the top of the brake light here. It's got two hooks on the brake light that hook underneath, and it's got clips all the way around here, and you have to make sure that these pieces clip back up in there too once you get this centerpiece on. And these screws are just a little bit longer than the ones that are in the front. I don't think it's going to make a difference if you put them in the wrong spot. They're still going to work, but these are just a tad longer to account for the thickness of this plastic trim piece here. And you can see it's a pain in the butt because I actually scratched mine right here trying to get this daggum thing in. So just be careful. It always helps to have more than one hand or one set of hands with you. But no big deal. I've got everything in place. That's the way that it looks. Much better than that huge tailpiece. Once I got it completed, I'll get a good side shot, probably a thumbnail or something. Let me get it all back together. All right, so here it is. I went ahead and turned the flashers on so you can see everything working. And now I'm gonna turn them off because I got glare. So you can see how the tag light is right here. So you can see how the wiring is run just across the back. And it just goes up underneath the fairing here. That's similar to how the factory wiring was. It came up through the tailpiece that went in the fairing right there. Pretty much everything is still covered the way that it was. It looks much better than the big giant tailpiece coming out. I do kind of wish that these could be a little more tucked in, but I understand the tag is as wide as the tag is, so you really can't make it any more narrow there without bringing everything up. And my little tag light's already kind of hitting right there. But for like $37, $38 shipped to my house, that ain't bad, bro. Especially when some of these undertail, tidy tail pieces are getting close to $200 or even over $200. I understand some of them come with turn signals, but then you got to get flasher relays and everything. This uses the stock turn signals. They're good looking turn signals back here. They don't look like crap, and they're LED. So you don't have to fool with any of that stuff. And for like 37, 36, whatever, 30 some odd dollar, under 40 bucks, you can have this right here. This is a 2021 CBR 1000 RR. I'm thinking everything from 2017 up to 2021 is going to be exactly the same. They sell other tidy tails just like this by the same person. I'm gonna put a link in the description below again to the eBay person that I bought this from, to the item itself. Appreciate it, you guys, for watching. I know this is something new, motorcycle for the channel, but this right here is what I can do videos on and stuff until I can get myself another vehicle. Thank you to all of my subscribers that's been here from the beginning. I really appreciate you guys. You're probably the only ones that's still watching at this point anyway, if anyone's still watching at this point. But I appreciate everybody that watches this video and shares the videos that I have. I try to be as informational as possible. Thanks for sticking with me.